Okay, let's be real. We are all building and using these incredible applications powered by large language models. I mean, they feel like magic, right? But with this new magic comes a whole new set of security challenges. So let's dive into how we can protect these powerful new tools.
And this, right here, is the question we absolutely have to be asking ourselves. Your LLM can write poetry, it can analyze complex data, it can practically have a human conversation. But if it's not secure, well then it's not just a tool, it's a huge liability.
You see, building an LLM app isn't at all like building a traditional web app. We're really on a new frontier here, and that means the old security playbooks, they just don't cover the kind of unique dangers we're facing now.
And this is the part you really have to get. In a normal app, we usually trust the communication that's happening inside our own network. But with LLMs, we just can't do that. A user's prompt could be secretly malicious. The call from your API to your vector database, that specialized database holding all your app's knowledge, that could be intercepted. You literally have to treat every single step of the process as a potential point of failure.
So, if we can't trust anything, what do? Well, we adopt a completely new philosophy. And this isn't just about buying some new piece of software. It's a fundamental shift in how we even think about security. It's called zero trust.
The core idea? It's actually incredibly simple, but so powerful. Never trust, always verify. That's it. It doesn't matter if a request is coming from a user halfway across the world or from a service running in the exact same data center. You verify it every single time.
Think about it like this. The old castle and moat model is like having a huge wall and a really strong front gate. But once an attacker gets past that gate, they can pretty much roam around freely inside. Zero trust? That's more like a modern high-security building. Your keycard gets you in the front door, sure, but you need it again for the elevator, again to get onto your floor, and again for every single office you try to enter. Every step requires fresh verification.
So how do we actually build this high-security facility for our LLM app? Well, it all comes down to 6 core principles. Let's walk through the playbook.
All right, here they are at a glance. Strict identity verification, least privilege access, micro-segmentation, continuous monitoring, input-output validation, and dynamic policies. I want you to think of these as the 6 pillars that are going to hold up your entire zero-trust architecture. Let's break them down one by one.
First up, identity. And look, this is way more than just users logging in with a password. This is about services proving their identity to each other. When your API gateway talks to your LLM service, how do they really know they can trust each other? That's where stuff like mutual TLS comes in. It creates a secure, verified channel for every single internal conversation.
Okay, this one is absolutely critical for limiting what we call the blast radius of an attack. If a hacker does manage to compromise one component, what can they actually do? With least privilege, the answer is not a whole lot. For instance, your LLM service probably needs to read from your vector database to get context, right? But does it ever need to write to it or delete stuff? Probably not, so you only give it read access, nothing more.
And this slide illustrates the next principle perfectly. Instead of one big, open, internal network, we create these tiny, isolated islands. The user interface can only talk to the API gateway. The vector database can only talk to the LLM service. So if an attacker gets into one of those segments, they're trapped. They can't just move laterally across your system looking for more valuable targets.
Now, it's not enough to just build the walls. You have to watch them, constantly. Zero trust demands constant vigilance. That means logging everything, and more importantly, using modern tools to actually analyze those logs. Is one user suddenly making thousands of queries? Is someone trying to access the database from a brand new location? You need automated real-time alerts to catch these kinds of anomalies the second they happen.
This is where we protect the brain of the whole operation, the LLM itself. You see, malicious users will try to trick the model with something called prompt injection, where they design a prompt to make the LLM ignore its safety rules. So we have to validate and sanitize every single prompt before it even gets close to the LLM. And you know what? It works both ways. We also need a moderation layer to check what the LLM says before it goes back to the user, just to make sure it doesn't accidentally leak sensitive data.
And finally, our security rules can't just be static. They need to be smart. They need to be contextual. An administrator might need powerful permissions, but should they have those permissions at 3 a.m. from a coffee shop Wi-Fi on an unrecognized device? No way. A dynamic policy would only grant that access when they're on a trusted, managed company laptop during normal business hours. The context of the request is everything.
So, when you put all 6 of these principles together, what do you actually get? You get a truly resilient application.
And this is the payoff, right? This is why it all matters. You stop playing defense, just waiting for breaches to happen. Instead, you build a system that is proactively hostile to attackers. By verifying every single action and minimizing every permission, you dramatically shrink the number of ways you can be attacked. Your app becomes resilient by design, hardened against threats from the outside, and just as importantly, from the inside.
At the end of the day, securing our applications is an ongoing conversation. It's a process, not a final destination. And as we all continue to build these amazing new LLM-powered experiences, the principles of zero trust have to be at the very center of that conversation. So, the question I'll leave you with is this: is it part of yours?